I'm going to call the meeting to order and review the minutes from the last meeting. Any questions?
No, move that they be approved.
Second? It's unanimous. And Board of Health
Work session. The discussion with Recreation Director Eric Beebe regarding development of a regulation or bylaw banning smoking on public beaches. He's requested that we reschedule till the 12th because of the snowstorm last week. So if you can move to
Do we have to move to? Okay.
to continue.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
Vote to reschedule.
March 12th,
And the next item we have is a discussion / presentation from Laura Kelly from POCA, Protect Our Cape Cod Aquifer.
This is a discussion, so we don't open. It's just a discussion.
Good evening. I'm Laura Kelly. Thanks for having this topic of discussion on the agenda this evening. Can you hear me okay? Should I get
It's
a little
not
closer?
It doesn't project. It's just a record.
It's just a recording, so this is radio, TV? Okay, good to know. Were you able to receive my last email by chance? So last week, the meeting was canceled due to our big snowstorm. And I sent you an email that evening. Was it allowed on to be included in tonight's discussion is my question.
It's forwarded to the board members.
Okay, so you have that in front of you. I brought copies just in case you didn't.
Yeah, we got it.
You've got it. Okay, wonderful. May I also hand this to you? These are 15 people that live in town that also support the topic of discussion this evening tonight. Excuse me, that's 12 people.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it's this side.
So hello, my name is Laura Kelly. I reside in Northeastham, born and raised in East Dennis. I'm the president of POCA Cape Cod, that's Protect Our Cape Cod Aquifer. Doing all I can to educate drinking water is important, and there's lots of things that we can do along the way to protect it. Tonight's topic of discussion is about the use of glyphosate. You guys hear me okay?
A little bit.
Okay. Thanks for letting me know. The use of glyphosate. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup as well as other herbicides. Roundup is not the only herbicide that contains glyphosate as an active ingredient. There are things like rodeo that would be common and commonly found in local garden centers today. Our ask this evening is to request the town volunteers to not use glyphosate on any town-owned property. That doesn't include any private property or businesses in town, just town-owned land, such as the town hall, police station, fire station, cemeteries, walkways, bike trails, parks, even schools and golf courses. What is going on as of last year, 2018? Glyphosate has proven harmful to people as well as bees. There are many studies that have come out even prior to last year in other countries. Right now there are 15 countries that don't allow the sale or use of glyphosate products. Because these studies are proven in the United States last year, gives me the desire to stand up and to educate, to ask the towns to become leaders, and do the right thing by just taking the next step. It's really simple. Because of the preemption law in the state of Massachusetts, we cannot ban the sale or use of such products So this is a volunteer effort only. I wanted to get briefly into the proof of harm. I believe that was sent to you by email. You've got links to studies, abstracts, direct connections. It's just blowing my mind that the manufacturers have been telling us that this goes into the plant, because we're specifically talking about herbicides, and the plant absorbs it and it dies. It does not get into the air, the water, into other neighboring plants. How is it then into people, rain, drinkable water, milk, breast milk, goat's milk? So we're finding that.
I'm sorry. Thanks.
Go right ahead. Yes, please do. Make yourself
I'd like to
comfortable.
pause for Mr. Boyle to take a seat.
Thank you. So sorry.
Can you guys hear me better?
Busy day. Reschedule meeting.
I've explained.
Apologies.
If I get closer? No, I get, it doesn't really, it's not a microphone.
It's not a public
Yeah, all right.
address,
Just have to be
just a
loud.
recorder.
So I was talking about studies and how glyphosate is directly connected to harming people as well as bees. And so, fascinatingly enough, there's a study that came out in the University of Texas in Austin in September of last year that stated that it's the microbiota of the bee's gut flora that is directly harmed by glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup. So of course this is still legal. It's still new. It's a controversial topic because the EPA allows this. It's on the shelves. Homeowners can use this. Yet we're seeing studies, we're seeing actual harm. Okay, so there was a case in California last summer that I'm sure you heard of, where the gentleman was a groundskeeper at a school. And he used Roundup for 2 years and got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma due to the use of Roundup. Took Monsanto to court last summer. It was the first court case. And he was granted $289 million. Further, the judge brought it down to 78, but it was accepted. $78 million. After that, preceding that, there's over 9,000 more cases of people that are harmed for the same reasons, wanting to take Monsanto to court over this product. So this is not going away. My point is we need to move in the direction of protecting ourselves. This is a health risk. The ask is to volunteer to end up protecting children, as well as not being liable in your own town.
We're on a limited time, so not, if you could, we have to start our regular meeting at 7. If you could, if you have anything else, I mean, we read this, I hope everybody did, with the harms that you're stating.
Okay, we'll bypass that then. Thank you for letting me know where the board is at. I appreciate that very much. I wanted to update you really quickly that there are a couple other towns that are moving forward with this request. Oh gosh, have I been to 8 or 9 towns now? Many of them are moving forward to write a new town regulation. So that's the ask of the board tonight, is to have your town departments, parks and services, conservation, boards of health, DPW, not use glyphosate products on your own town-owned land, conservation included, and have the Board of Health write a new town regulation stating that this is this will hold true over time, right? So that is our ask for this evening. And there's a couple of other announcements and logistics to go through that Whiting Rice will be glad to talk to you about. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Whiting Rice, and I own and operate a company that deals with zoning, land use, development issues, hydrology, things like that, scientific matters. And first of all, as Laura mentioned, I just want to reemphasize, what we're asking the board to do will not affect a single private citizen in your town. It will only affect those citizens, though, that potentially visit your town property. There is a great concern, potential liabilities. You heard Laura mention 9,000 pending cases. What you don't want to do is have the town all of a sudden have either an employee or a visitor or someone who is visiting the town from out of town decide all of a sudden I potentially am coming down with this. Town of Orleans has had a policy for a number of years. Wellfleet has a policy. Marblehead has a very detailed policy which we've sent you. For the board to put together basically a policy, and look at it this way, let me spin it slightly differently. The town is a property owner, probably the largest property owner in the town, to be honest with you. A property owner can make a decision how they want to manage their own property. This comes down as simple as that. So when we say we're asking for a policy or Board of Health regulation, which if the board decides to move in that direction, we would help you craft if necessary. You would have a public hearing, so people who might be opposed to it can come out and speak, so we're not going to have to get into all that tonight. But that policy would require you to make a finding. I'll be honest with you, the legislature in Massachusetts made a finding when they enacted Chapter 132B, talking about pesticides, herbicides being toxic chemicals. The board would make a finding that, in their opinion, it's toxic, and therefore it would not be in the best interest of the town to continue to use this product on there. One other thing I do want to mention, and it's the same topic, but something that has happened in the last couple of days. As you all know, you have a utility line right away that runs through Harwich. It's owned and operated by NSTAR/Eversource. Eversource sent notices out to all the boards of health, conservation board of selectmen that their vegetation management plan was approved. It took them almost a year to get it approved because it was fraught with so many errors, technical errors and all that, and through a long involved review process, a lot of that was corrected. They cannot apply a single ounce of pesticide on their right-of-way until they file what's called a yearly operation plan. They just, literally this is coming out tomorrow in the Environmental Monitor. I have an early copy. And as part of it, you folks will receive, or you may have already received it, I talked to the Board of Health agent in Orleans this afternoon, and he has received part of it, but not all of it. A notice from MDR that this document's out and you have a 45-day comment period. The important line in the letter is, and I'll just quote it, failure by the city or town to respond to the applicant's submission of the YOP, that's this, within 45-day period will be automatically considered by MDR to indicate agreement by the municipal officials with the regulated sensitive area demarcations provided by the applicant in their YOP. In other words, if you don't say anything, even if you just write a letter to MDR saying we're categorically opposed to the use of pesticides, as simple as that, you would come on the line of someone opposed to it. If you write nothing, it says basically we're in favor of this. So, yeah.
Point of notice, I believe we're on record already with opposing the
Right.
use of
You
pesticides.
have to redo
With
it.
you.
That's all. I'm just reminding you that please consider your next meeting or the meeting after, but prior to April 5th, right around April 5th.
Right,
to
because
get
we went
that.
through this last year and we supported that
Correct.
initiative.
Yeah, and what
Okay.
I'm saying is that was last year,
Yep,
so you gotta take another bite at the apple. That's
Okay.
all. So I
Yep.
just wanted to call your attention to this document and the pending document coming out. So, in the interest of time, and we do appreciate you making time for us today, I won't go into too much more than that, other than to say that legally, I'm here to help you. Towns cannot pass a ban on pesticides. There's a famous court case called Wendell versus the Attorney General that certainly supports that banning. A town-wide banning cannot happen, but you can regulate what happens on your property.
Okay,
Okay?
appreciate that.
It's
very
like
much.
I noticed on your agenda, you're gonna have a policy possibly about smoking on beaches. That's your property. You can determine if you want people to smoke on your property. Simple as that. It's parallel and similar. Thank you again.
Well, thank you for all your information, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's very worthwhile, and we appreciate
I agree.
that.
Can I have any comments from the audience? Does anybody from the audience want to say anything?
Oh, yeah, careful.
I have one comment.
Excuse me,
uh,
excuse me.
I'm
I
sorry.
think Mr. Kukunis wants to say something.
Oh, okay.
You don't have any direct questions for us at this point?
Thank you very much for letting me speak. Just to let you know that I didn't know we were going to get into the NSTAR question because that's not really on the agenda, so I won't address any of the NSTAR comments that were mentioned today. But I do want to give the board a copy of a white page that was done by the county on this specific topic. And certainly you can use it as you move forward. There's a lot of science out on this, and we all know that when you get scientists involved, you can bring 100 in, they're going to say one thing, and I can get 100, they're going to say another. That's just the way this is right now. What's being asked of the town is to do a voluntary no use of Roundup. I want to inform the board, the town of Harwich already has a policy not to use Roundup. The schools, when it was the Harwich School Committee, I know they had a written policy about Roundup on school properties. Since it's converted over to Monomoy, I'm not sure if that particular policy has transferred over to not. I did, as early this evening, speak with Lynn Cooper, our director of the highways, and the town, they have their own internal policy. They do not use the product with glyphosates in it. So to have a written policy on this to kind of cement, if you will, that, I have no problem with that. I think that's probably a smart thing to do. However, I do want to say for the record that I think it's important in the policy that you do mention and specify license applicators. I am a cranberry grower. I have a pesticide license from the state, and I have to go through rigorous classes, so many hours a year in order to maintain that license. And it covers things like when to spray and when not to spray. You take into consideration bees and all that. And I think it's very important that if the town had an opportunity or a situation where they were going to use it, that it was done by a licensed professional. And we do in the town of Harwich have licensed professionals on staff. So I think that having a town-wide policy is certainly a good thing, written, but once again, the board should know that the town of Harwich doesn't do it anyhow and has not done it for probably 10 years anyhow that I know of. They have stopped use of it. So again, you know, to have that in writing I don't think is a bad thing. My only concern, and again, if you do put it in writing, that you do specify town-owned property and town people putting it on. Because there are some properties around that are licensed and leased to other people, and I would think that their rights have to be into consideration, that although it's town-owned property, it's leased to another individual, maybe for gardening or cranberries or things like that, that certainly should be exempt. But to cover the things that Laura mentioned today, schools, town hall, playgrounds, parks, we don't do it anyhow in town, so if it makes them feel better and makes you guys feel better to have it in writing, I think it's probably a good thing, and I'd be more than happy to work with the board to help put that policy together. So,
Thank you.
thanks again for the time.
Could I have those two
Another
papers
comment?
back? Hold on, thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Alice Kelly, I'm a town resident.
Have you signed in, ma'am?
I have.
Okay,
And
great.
I want to say thank you for bringing this forward. And I hope that if the board agrees with this, that they will make it very public. Because I had to fight with my husband for years to ask if kitties not to use Roundup on poison ivy. We both get poison ivy regularly, but I thought this was really important not to get this into our groundwater, and he finally came around. And I think if people in the town see that the town itself is saying, this is toxic stuff, we don't want it on town property, we're limited in how much we limit it, but we want everybody to know that the town is concerned about this, with the hope that ordinary citizens who have been using Roundup without thinking about it will give it another thought.
Thank you for that
Thank you.
comment.
One brief comment. Oh,
We're not done yet.
I'm sorry.
Can you, thanks.
Thank you for,
My name is Mercy McClarty and I live at 210 Pleasant Bay Road in Harwich, and I support Laura Kelly and her wish to her request to stop spraying herbicides. I'm worried that fish, birds, and drinking water. I'm worried that herbicides are harmful to fish, birds, and drinking water. Also, on Cape Cod, our water is right under our feet, so everything we spray on the ground goes right in our drinking water. I strongly agree that herbicides should not be used in Harwich, town-owned land.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't sign in, so.
If you wouldn't mind,
Okay.
before you leave.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Marietta Nilsson, and I live on Parallel Street. And I've lived in this town my whole life, 75 years. I basically grew up on Sisson Road, and so I've lived in about a 2 square mile area my whole life. As you can see, I am under treatment for breast cancer right now. I don't have any hair on my head. I've just gone through 4 months of chemotherapy, and I have radiation and surgery ahead of me. I'm here as an anecdote for you about what chemicals can do, because the kind of breast cancer I have is called triple negative. It's not the kind that's caused by hormones. It's caused by some kind of chemical in the environment. I'm somebody who eats organic food. I don't put pesticides on my own property. I have no idea what caused me to have to lose my hair. I'm going to lose my breasts. I don't know what it is, but I was willing to come out in a really cold night and tell you folks that I'm sure that, there are 1 in 8 women that are suffering from breast cancer now. Some of them are from chemicals. If there's anything you can do to educate the public and to act on it, I would strongly encourage you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marietta.
Okay,
Now can I ask?
yes.
I have one comment only, and that is that it's a semantic one, but I think it's an important one. We are not talking about pesticides. We are talking about herbicides. And pesticides is a much too broad term to use for these items. For example, a mousetrap is a pesticide. So I would strongly recommend that whenever you present this in the future and whenever we record our data, that we use the term herbicide. The other comment I have is that there is no safe herbicide, none. So you can't talk about making things safe by eliminating any one single herbicide. Okay.
Okay. Nothing else? Well, we thank you.
Could I just add one minor thing, just to answer Mr. Kakunis's comment? The proposed regulations we're talking about would contain an exemption policy. So, for example, in the case of the leased property, they could come to the Board of Health and say, this is the solution, we looked at alternatives, and so forth. So there is some potential relief in those circumstances.
That's what scares me, potential relief. Thank you.
Well, it's dependent upon someone saying yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming out.
want to proceed? Would you
Are we
give me
prepared to vote
direction
on this?
to?
Do we want to make a vote tonight to,
I would suggest in
Give
view of the
direction.
time that we table the vote until the next meeting. Is that
I'd second that.
acceptable? Okay.
okay. We're going to table the vote until the next meeting because of the time. I don't think you need to come back. I think we're pretty much all in agreement.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
New or old unfinished business, we have a continued hearing for Perks, Taylor and Sarah Powell, 545 Route 28. They have requested to reschedule their hearing until March 12th. They couldn't come back up from Florida. So if you could vote
That was going to be a big one too, so
postpone, continue it until March 12th.
so moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll postpone it until next month.
That's going to be the busy night.
That's going to be busy.
Okay. You ready to go to
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is also some new business. We have a hearing for Collins, 3 Kelly
All
Road.
right.
Appeal of the order to submit a Title V inspection report for property transfer in accordance with the Harwich Board of Health regulations. He also couldn't make it to this meeting, so he is requested to reschedule till March 12th.
I'd make a motion that we accept that.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That was Collins, right?
That was A. Collins, yes.
Right.
Also,
Moving on.
all of the stuff in your packet for these continued hearings, if you could keep
Hold them.
keep it, don't toss it.
Sure.
So we don't have to reproduce it all.
I
Done.
promise.
Letter B, hearing preliminary subdivision plan for Mark and Andrea Toomey, Quinnapoxet Way.
Okay.
Yes.
I open the hearing.
Hello, I am. I'll sign in on my way out, if you don't mind.
Might need more agendas.
Not at all.
Alrighty, for the record, Thad Eldridge, I'm with East Southeast. I'm here representing the Toomeys, who are looking to purchase the property and subdivide it into 2 lots. We're scheduled to be before the planning board for the preliminary subdivision next week. And we're here before you for the preliminary subdivision. We have suitable area for 2 lots. We're not located within a zone 2, and we should be far enough from any watershed to not have to worry about that. If there are any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them.
There's no locus on the map. Could you give me an idea of where we are in relationship to the town?
Sure. We're on Long Pond Drive, north of Route 6, basically in the
I see.
crux of Long Pond.
And how close to 137 are we?
We're ways. Where Long Pond Drive is right next to the highway, we're further west than that.
Okey-doke. Thank you. Well, with that, you're all set?
Any comments from the audience? Okay, I'll close the hearing. Comments from the board?
No?
No? Anybody want to, health director's, sorry.
That's okay. As
Recommendation.
we've been told, these lots are not located in a zone 2, and they will be less than 2,000 gallons a day, so they're exempt from the regulation 1.211. I recommend approval of the preliminary subdivision plan designed by East Southeast LLC dated 1/29/19 with the following conditions. The lots shall be served by town water, and fully compliant septic systems are required to serve the dwellings.
move the health director's recommendation.
I'll second the recommendation.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Okay.
much.
Good luck.
The next hearing is Molesky Maynard, 119 Julian Road, to reconsider an order of conditions granted February 23rd, 2000. There is to be no increase in square footage, habitable space, or number of bedrooms to the dwelling. Proposal to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a new dwelling prepared by Clark Engineering LLC.
David's right outside.
Thank you.
We now open the
okay.
hearing.
Sorry about that.
Yes. We have green cards?
I do. David Clark, Clark Engineering for the record, on behalf of the applicants. They are proposing to demolish this house and build a new house. The new house is larger than the old house. When the Title V system was put in quite a few years ago, Board of Health put a restriction that there should be no expansion of living space. Molesky's, because of the expense of going up considerably higher than where they are now, because they are in the floodplain, they're losing all that outdoor space because of the disconnect of where the first floor is and where the yard is. They've before the board to have that restriction lifted as far as expansion of the living space. We've been to the Conservation Commission and received an order conditions for this project. So the next step is here. I do want to point out that the house is in a velocity zone, and as such, it's required to be on a pier or a pile foundation. Title V also restricts the location of soil absorption systems. It actually prohibits them within the velocity zone unless there's no alternative. The existing soil absorption system is just outside the velocity zone, and the house itself is entirely within the velocity zone. So the expansion of the house has no impact on any available area for a new soil absorption system if one is needed in the future. I did provide existing and proposed floor plans, and this still has to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. That hasn't been scheduled yet, pending the outcome of this meeting. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments from the audience? Close the hearing. Comments from the board?
It's just going to stay 4 bedrooms.
Yes, no increase in the number of bedrooms.
And the system right now is pressure dosed, and you're having it monitored?
I don't know. It's required to be inspected once a year. I'm not involved with that end of the project. So I don't
Do you
have
have a record of that?
We don't have any record of it being done.
Okay. Do you think they could get that to us?
Sure, inspection of the pressure dose system, sure. I'll
And I'm leaning towards doing it as long as they've been adhering to the restrictions that we set forth.
Yeah,
Seems fair.
it does.
I went by the house, and that's right on the marsh. Correct?
Yes,
Um,
there's a
and
salt
it's
marsh.
quite a big home now, quite tall now, too. I have concerns because of where it is, you increasing the square footage. And I don't know if you, should I mention the alternative?
Sure.
I don't know if you would consider doing an alternative technology to go forward.
We never considered it because the town of Harwich prohibited them for almost 2 decades. It was not even on our radar to consider that. So I'd be happy to bring it back to the applicant and see if he wants to do that.
Well, see what the recommendations of the health director are now.
Well, they are keeping the same number of bedrooms. They're reducing their variances by 1 because they're taking away that foundation, so that's 1 less variance required.
They're dropping a bedroom too, right?
No, they're staying 4 to 4.
Okay.
They are increasing their square footage by a few hundred square feet per floor. So because of the severe environmental variances, the soil absorption system is 41 feet from the wetland. I would suggest the encouragement of alternative technology to reduce some of the nitrogen load. If it was a square foot to square foot situation and they weren't increasing their habitable space, I wouldn't be recommending that, but we've talked about it in the last few meetings with environmental variances to wetlands. It's something that you could consider. When Mr. Clark was saying we've not allowed them in the past, they haven't been allowed to increase flow in the past, and they were not encouraged in the past. But we do have a regulation that says they shouldn't be used for an increase in flow or for bedrooms, but that's not what's happening here.
Comments?
Well, I feel it should have alternative technologies, that's my
Okay.
consideration.
So right now, it's pressure dose Title V. And, okay.
Because of where it's located.
So I feel like it kind of puts a pretty heavy expense on the folks that are rebuilding the house, where there's no increase in bedroom count, and they've got a pressure dose system with a bunch of conditions on it. I think that that's an unfair burden to make them upgrade the septic system at this point, personally.
So you're aware upgrading to an alternative system means changing out a tank. They keep the pressure dose field and the pump chamber would stay.
They don't have to remove the entire pressure dose. You're talking
No.
about just the tank.
It's just a tank. And some tanks, if they're new enough and large enough, can have an insert put in. So it's not,
And that would gain us how,
we'd be going from over 35 parts per million of nitrogen down to 19.
seems reasonable.
Do you know what a cost to a homeowner is for that kind of technology?
Depends on the technology, so just for the technology alone, it's I think it's between $6,500 and $10,000, depending on what technology is chosen. And as Megan said, yes, we would have to swap out the septic tank, and hopefully we wouldn't damage the soil absorption system. As you can see on the plan, the septic tank is right there next to the SAS, and it's considerably deeper than where the SAS is. It can be done. And if the board so chooses to order it, this is the time to do it.
I would be in support of that. I think it's a small price to pay, and it would gain a lot to the safety of the project, having less impact. And I'd also like to see the condition that the regular maintenance has been met. I'd like to see verification of that as well to approve it from here. So I think that's where I stand. Anybody else?
It does seem a small price to pay with rebuilding a big house.
Gains a lot on the, to cut down on the,
That's a big difference, I think, in the nitrogen.
yeah. So I'd make a recommendation that we would support the program based on the conditions that they upgrade that tank and that they could verify that they've been in compliance and that the other restrictions are maintained moving forward, that it's a 4-bedroom house, there's no garbage disposal.
Is there anything else you want to add?
When there's alternative technology, there needs to be an operation and maintenance agreement with testing as required by Harwich regulations. So an annual operation and maintenance agreement, and depending if it's seasonal or year-round, quarterly testing for a year, and then it can be reduced down to twice a year. That would need to be.
And that's standard, that we would
That's
reduce it
standard.
back, so it's not so costly to maintain it. That would be reasonable, because one goes without the other. Okay.
Does that get afoul of our new regulation about the distance between the access port and the grade level?
No.
Okay.
So I'd make a recommendation that we'd approve the request based on what we've just cited, the upgraded tank, the record that shows that it's been maintained properly, and that the past restrictions apply as well.
Want to make that as a motion?
I just did.
Oh, okay, I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. So you'll come back, what do we do now?
I don't think he has to come back. If
Yeah, on the-
he
on
just
the-
provides a revised plan to
Oh,
me.
okay.
If they're in agreement, if they're not, they could come back.
Yep.
Pardon me?
If they're in agreement, you can handle that at the office
Yes,
level?
yeah, if they have issues with it, I'll be back. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Just out of curiosity, was that Fay Vincent's old house?
What was the difference in the,
The 99 septic
Well, I'm
plan,
just curious, because I know he lived down at the end of Julian Road. He was a baseball commissioner.
oh,
thank you.
Just curious.
well, the 1999 plan says Yasuna as the owner, so.
Thank you.
The next hearing we have is for Rizzo, 22 Eastern Avenue, to consider a variance request to install a new Title V septic system prepared by GFM Enterprises, Inc. Variances from 310 CMR 15.211 minimum setbacks to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 14 feet from the foundation wall where 20 feet is required, request of 6 feet.
Good evening, Keith Fernandez with GFM Enterprises. I am working for both the homeowner now, Mike Rizzo, and the former owner.
Excuse me, I just want to say I'm opening the
Oh,
hearing.
sorry.
Now you go right ahead.
Keith Fernandez, GFM Enterprises. This property recently transferred title as part of it transferring title. A septic inspection was done. The existing leach pit was too close to groundwater, so it failed the inspection, and the system needs to be upgraded. What you see here is the proposed upgrade to the system. Small lot, and it's not really our dwelling that's driving this, it's the dwelling next door. This used to be one piece of property, and it was split some time ago, and the house next door is a foot away from the property line. So I have pushed everything towards our dwelling, so we are the only ones, I guess, encumbered by the variance request. In order to mitigate the variance, I have proposed the installation of a flow barrier that will go from the inlet elevation of the leach trenches down to the bottom of the footing of the foundation wall. With that, I open it up to questions.
Any comment from the audience? I close the hearing. Comments from the board?
This liner, I presume, has a long half-life.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah.
It's not wallboard.
No. They'll be there longer than us.
Okay. I move that
Wait a
the,
minute, recommendation from the director?
The property has a failed Title V inspection, which was conducted as part of a real estate transfer, and it's currently under order to upgrade by the Board of Health. This variance is required due to the abutting property. The dwelling currently consists of 2 bedrooms, and no increase in bedrooms is proposed with this application. The proposed septic system will consist of the existing 1,000-gallon tank, raising the covers and installing a new distribution box and leaching field trenches. I recommend approval with the following conditions: no increase in square footage or habitable space without review by the Board of Health. Dwelling is restricted to 2 bedrooms, no garbage grinder, and variance approval and conditions to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
I hear a motion?
I move that the recommendation of the health director be approved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Again, just a quick question. How are these numbers arrived at, the 20-foot? Is that scientific, or is it just somebody's guess?
It's research-based, thinking 20 feet from the property line will give you a minimum amount from an abutter's septic system and an
But
abutter's.
somebody's actually done the research.
I would hope so, but I don't know the answer
Okay.
to that. The next hearing we have is for Karain, 17 Kildy Road, to consider a variance request to install a new Title V septic system prepared by Moran Engineering Associates, LLC. Variance from 310 CMR 15211 minimum setbacks to allow a proposed pump chamber to be 5 feet from the property line where 10 feet is required. Variance request of 5 feet. To allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 5 feet from the property line where 10 is required. Variance request of 5 feet. To allow a proposed septic tank to be 8 feet from a cellar wall where 10 is required. Variance request of 2 feet. And on to the back page, to allow soil absorption system to be 12 feet from a cellar wall where 20 is required. Variance of 8 feet. Variances from Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210 minimum setbacks to allow proposed soil absorption system to be 56 feet from the edge of wetland where 100 feet is required. Variance request of 44 feet. To allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 71 feet from the edge of the river where 100 feet is required. Variance request of 29 feet.
For the record, Rick Judd, Moran Engineering. The existing lot is 12,374 square feet. It's an existing 2-bedroom dwelling. There's no proposed increase in number of bedrooms or expansion. We did a voluntary assessment of the sewage disposal system, which is under Article 11. It's a tank which is under the back deck and a Orangeburg leaching field. The proposal before you, not to re-enumerate what the director has gone through, is to redirect the plumbing, go to a monolithic tank under the paved driveway. From the monolithic tank, we'll go to a pump chamber. From the pump chamber, We'll deploy the effluent by pressure distribution to a raised stoneless field. The impact on the property is substantial, so Conservation's already given its approval for the proposal. We're moving the shed back. We're maintaining greater than 50 feet from the resource. Some of the limiting factors, as you can see on here, is we have no envelope to work with. So in order to get 2 vehicles off of the roadway, this is the configuration in the area that we could fit something in. At this point, I will certainly take any questions through the chair that any board members may have.
Any comments from the audience?
Monolithic is a trade name?
Monolithic is a single pour, so you typically have the sides and the bottom are in one pour, and then you'll have boots that are rubber for your pipes to go out. They clamp tight, and then you'll have a top, and you'll have a mastic which will seal it.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Certainly.
Nothing else? Recommendations of health director?
The existing property consists of 2 bedrooms, and they're not proposing to change the dwelling at all. It's replacing a failed septic system. They're providing 5 feet separation to groundwater. This improvement, along with the pressure dose field, will provide greater environmental protection than the existing system. I recommend approval of these variances with the following conditions. Property is to be restricted to a maximum of 2 bedrooms. No increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the board. No garbage grinder. Pressure dosed leaching field to be inspected yearly. Variance approval and conditions to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that the health director's recommendation be approved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck. Tight spot there.
Yeah. I may be coming before the board myself. I'm a homeowner and I'm thinking of doing the same thing. I'll recuse myself.
Oh, good. The next hearing is for Mo Haben. Did I say that right? I don't think I did, but 11 Atlantic Avenue to consider a variance request to install a new Title V septic system prepared by Engineering Works, Inc. These variances, I did speak with Pete McEntee, the owner of Engineering Works. He missed a variance in his submittal.
Yes.
And his notification, so he does need to withdraw this without prejudice, and then he's going to reapply for March.
Not a problem.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we revisit this in March.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We'll hang on to that one.
Yeah, hang on to that stuff. He is going to re-notify abutters with all of the proper variances. So the next hearing is for Blackmore, 78 Bells Neck Road, to consider a variance request to install a new Title V tight tank system prepared by Moran Engineering LLC. Variance from Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210, minimum setbacks, to allow a proposed tight tank to be 41 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland where 100 feet is required. Variance request of 59 feet.
I open the hearing.
For the record, again, Rick Judd, Moran Engineering. To your right, my left is Nate Cosper, who will be the chief builder, I guess, on the project. Conservation has included in your packet a letter. We will be before Conservation tomorrow night. Department of Environmental Protection had not issued DEP number to us. So it's a procedural way that Harwich works hand in hand with Conservation. So tomorrow night we should be getting our DEP, we have our DEP number. We have to go through the mechanics of getting it issued. So we are actually before you procedurally beforehand. The proposal before you is basically to secure a tight tank for a residential seasonal home. Have you been out to the site on site visits just to get an idea of the existing conditions that are out there? The last one that we presented was tight as far as environmental concerns. This goes a step beyond that. So the proposal before you is to raise an existing dwelling. A smaller, less intense footprint will be, of a dwelling will be proposed. The proposed tight tank is actually getting further away from the resource. With any tight tank, perhaps you could look at it as the perfect environmental tool because there's zero discharge. So the variance before you is basically a reconfiguration to move a little bit further away from the wetland. But as in any case where we have a tight tank, we're aware of the pre-existing conditions that followed the first tight tank, and they would attach and go with that. So certainly between Nate and myself, we would take any questions that the board might have.
Do you have green cards?
Any comments from the audience? Okay.
Those aren't the green cards. I'm sorry. Those are the receipt that they were mailed, but they come with a green card. It should come back.
The return receipts?
The return receipts, yes.
When I was looking through the list, it didn't say get a return receipt, it just said send them certified mail. These are certified mail receipts.
Okay. Do you have dates that they were sent?
They'll be stamped.
Yeah.
They were sent
Yeah, you got a stamp right there. That's your
the
stamp.
29th of January.
Okay, we'll go through the numbers and make sure they were delivered. Sorry.
No, no. Anything from the board?
No, there's an existing cottage on that property right now, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And they have, and you're gonna raise that and put this in.
That's correct.
That's the plan.
The existing structure fit, the way it's situated right now is a little further to the west towards the resource.
Yep.
They're going from 532 square feet to 480 square feet, so there is a reduction of impact, and of course the construction techniques, which I'm not here to speak about, but they're going to be more in line with what would environmentally be considered more favorable.
Yep. That's all. Any other comment, questions, anybody? No? Recommendations?
I recommend approval of the variance request with the conditions that the property is restricted to a maximum of 1 bedroom, no increase in habitable space or square footage. The property is limited to seasonal use for 6 months per year. Seasonal restrictions shall be enforced by a water shut-off order from the Harwich Water Department. An operation and maintenance agreement must be in place prior to issuing a disposal works construction permit. The agreement must indicate a monitoring and pumping schedule, and the approval letter and conditions should be recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Through the chair, for the record, on your seasonal restriction, could you, just for the record, can we read into the record what that will be?
Title V is 6 months, so the homeowner could choose which 6 months they'd like. It's typically May through October, but if they wish to be winter birds instead of summer people, that's up to them.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
Your turn. I'll make a motion that we'll accept that, based on the conditions that we've just laid out.
One other condition is based on a positive recommendation from the commission.
Right, from
Conservation.
Conservation.
Right. Yeah.
If that gets kicked back, you could reapply to us without precedent.
Well, our approval would be
Null and void.
null and void.
Okay, are we clear on that?
Crystal clear, yes.
Great.
Yep.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
very much. Thank you.
On your project.
It's quite a house.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I wish you luck with it.
Living in an observation tower.
It's cool. Cool man, dude.
The next hearing is for Murphy, 15 Ocean Avenue. To consider a variance request to install a new Title V septic system prepared by Ronald J. Cadillac, PLS RS. Variance from 310 CMR 211 minimum setbacks per 310 CMR 15.211 to allow a proposed septic tank to be 8 feet 25 inches, 8.25 feet from the crawl space where 10 is required, to allow a proposed septic tank to be 6 feet from the abutter's crawl space where 10 feet is required, and to allow a proposed septic tank to be 1 foot from the property line where 10 is required, to allow no reserve area to be provided.
I open the hearing. Hello.
Ron Cadillac for Mary Murphy. And this is an existing 4-bedroom house. It's on a tiny lot, basically 40 by 41 foot. And it is about 400 feet from the beach. And we had an inspection done by Joe Martins. And the existing pit is in good shape. And the inspection conditionally passes because there's no septic tank. And there's not really enough room to put a current Title V system in the space that we have. So we're suggesting the best we can do is to squeeze a septic tank in, and this will get rid of the cesspool that's there now that feeds the overflow pit. And it has 1 foot of stone around it, and so we're proposing to squeeze that in. And basically we're throwing ourselves on the mercy of the board, basically, because there's no way we can fit a leaching area in that meets current standards. And even the pit that's here is kind of squeaking out a little bit into the street. So, I mean, it's been there a long time, so no one's complained about it, but that's pretty much all I have to say.
Okay. Comments from the audience? Yes.
Hi, my name is Peter Chalakis. I'm an abutter from the east side.
Yeah, he's right here.
Okay.
And so the septic tank we're proposing is going to be a foot off of his lot line here, and it's 1 foot 9 inches off of our block foundation. So I am proposing shoring on both sides just to put the tank in. You know?
Finish.
Thank you. So I was chairman of the Hopkins Conservation Commission for 10 years. I've got degrees in biology and chemistry, and about 2 decades of construction and experience from all sizes of facilities, from the GSA to the local dairy plant. So when I first saw this plan, I was shocked, because I know it's a difficult lot, I get that. And we know there's a problem with the existing area, meaning the cesspool smells, the property's rented, and during the summertime, as you'd expect, 10 to 12 people rent out a 4-bedroom house, and you hear things like the toilet doesn't work, and then you hear the mom yell, "Oh, use the shower outside." You know, so we get it, we understand. And we are in favor of a solution. However, this solution isn't an optimal, in my opinion. There is land, as you noticed, where this leaching pit is. A traditional tank could be put there, and some form of alternative design septic system would fit. There's about 8 feet plus or minus of distance, not all the way up and down, but yes, it would encroach on Union Avenue. But so what? You know, the town could allow that. The key issue, however, also is that this is a plastic tank going in 1 foot away from our fence. And I would submit that's virtually impossible to put in without the fence collapsing, because it's obviously sitting in sand. Also, plastic tanks are not recommended for use basically anywhere. However, fiberglass is a better solution, concrete's a better solution. but both have pros and cons, and I understand that. So I guess what we'd like to see is an alternative that takes advantage of that parking area, quote unquote, on the south side of the building. And another issue is obviously there's limited parking on the site. So whatever septic system does go in there, it has to support cars. And I think there's some sort of recommendation here to limit the parking over the current cess pit. But that simply isn't feasible because there's really no parking on the site. So it scares us to death that they'll be digging 1 foot away from our lot line, which is the fence. Also, the existing dwelling has approximately 3 cinder blocks holding it up. So, you basically need a magician to engineer putting a tank of that size in that area. Having said all that, we need a solution. So I'm not here to say, don't do it, we need it fixed. However, there are considerations that could be given to alternative designs, not the least of which is obviously using the area, a part of the area of Union Avenue. I'm assuming you got my email letter. If not, I have a copy of it, and I know my neighbor Tom Farlani also sent an email voicing similar concerns. That's it. That's really all. So there's a whole long list, but those are the key points. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any other comments? I close the hearing.
Hey, I have a question. You had mentioned alternative systems that could fit, and I'm wondering what those are, because I've looked and racked my brain, and I cannot come up with an alternative system that could fit.
Well, and again, I'm not the expert in this area, so, but our neighbor Jim has a septic tank, and he has 2, and I didn't know you could even do this, looks like sequential tanks that are kind of like cess pits slash, not cess pits, not the right word, seepage pits in series. And I know you're not supposed to put things like that in series. But, and it's in a similar sized area. Granted, again, it's 8 feet, his is actually 8 feet wide to work with. And I don't know if you remember the property, it was at 14 Central Street, and it was put in, God knows, maybe 10 years ago. And you guys made him put in a modified basement to act as a barrier, not you guys, but the town, to prevent leaching into the house. And then there's also another septic system at 26 Ocean, in fact. It was a brand new house, and they had a similar area. Now I know in this case, it's kind of wedge-shaped with that lot, so he doesn't have that full 8 feet, but in both cases, the area wasn't that much different. Now, I don't know how many bedrooms it supported, that's the other thing.
Can I say something about what you just said?
Of course you can.
All right, well, it isn't 8 feet. It's 8 feet behind. And the reason for the plastic tank is basically it's smaller, it's narrower.
Right.
I don't have any, I'm not crazy about plastic tanks either, but they are approved by the state. But it's also shallower. So it's the least disruptive thing that I could find to put in there. But there's only 6.5 feet here and 7 feet there. And I looked, I came up with a scheme, and I brought it to Megan, and I had leaching. And what I found was there was, unless somehow the town grants us the right to put leaching in the street,
Which we're not going to do.
all right, then what we found was that there was no way I could get a system that could even handle half the capacity that we have now. And this does handle, under the old code, that does handle 4 bedrooms. And it's there, and it's in good shape.
If we got some verbiage that made sure your fence was going to be intact at the end of this procedure, would that satisfy you that we're doing the best we can?
It wouldn't satisfy me because, again, I don't understand why the town wouldn't allow some variance with respect to his leach field, you know, being under the road, quote unquote.
Because, think of it in your neighborhood. We would be digging up the entire neighborhood, every system, if we could make a variance that could use the public street. It's just not a discussion to start.
That's okay, I can understand it from that perspective. The only thing I can say is in this particular instance, there are no homes that are on Union Avenue. Virtually no cars go up and down that section of Union Avenue.
I appreciate your point.
Yeah.
I have no other comment.
Yeah, I really tried to get a system in there, and I came in with one basically that was like an old code system. Basically, I got rid of the D-box and I made it, I had a 4-foot effective depth, and still it didn't have the capacity of the existing pit that's there. Now granted, it's 6 feet down, and you can't do that anymore. The code only allows you 2 feet. I couldn't even get a 1-bedroom design out of anything that fit today's code for that area. So, if no one's going to allow us to use the street,
it's a challenging lot.
This is the best we can do at this point in time.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
All right. I understand everything you said, and again, we want the problem fixed. My question is, it's a 4-bedroom house now that's going to change hands. So why does it have to remain a 4-bedroom house with a tank of this size? Because I know for a fact, in my experience, when the Vintons sold their property, which was on Ocean Ave, Central Ave, further up the street, they were told that the septic system would only support 3 bedrooms, therefore they couldn't sell it as a 4-bedroom house. I don't know what all that means, I don't know the legal stuff, but if someone has a 4-bedroom house now, do they automatically get a 4-bedroom house when that property changes hands in the future, simply to destroy, potentially my area and, potentially harm the environment? Because these plastic tanks do collapse, and we know that for a fact. It's a question, I don't know.
The plastic tank is approved. It's not a question of whether or not it's going to collapse.
Well, it is a question, but it's approved
By the state.
By the state, correct, I understand.
Yeah.
For particular uses, and I could actually quote you saying, never use a plastic tank unless you've got it surrounded by concrete. But that's okay. It is approved by the state. I understand that.
Do you have any other points?
No, just the answer to my question. If it's a 4-bedroom house and it's existing.
Megan, you want to handle that?
The other case you were referring to, I believe it was always a 3-bedroom house, and they had a 4th bedroom that
And they made a 4th bedroom.
was not allowed or permitted. So that is why it was reduced. For a legal 4-bedroom home, where we have on record 4 bedrooms, the floor plan clearly has 4 bedrooms, we do not reduce the number of bedrooms.
I have one question for you. You suggested a fiberglass tank. Now, are you aware of a tank that would have different, that would be like longer and narrower, so it would give us more clearance to your lot line? I'd be willing to entertain a different tank if you could, if you were aware of one.
Mary's our neighbor and she's our friend too. So what I'm worried about is, I know it's approved by the state, but the plastic tanks, the covers pop, the little plugs in them, I don't know if these have plugs, but they come out. Changes in the temperature cause them to flex, and then that causes other issues. I think there's a fiberglass tank of the same size. I'm not an expert, but if there was, it would make me a lot happier. Because I just see 5 years from now, the thing just smelling again.
Well, let me, yeah, I mean, I'd be concerned if, it is a tight fit with a tank. What would the board consider me using a 1,000-gallon tank?
What are the
Would that be
dimensions?
something that you would consider just because of the space to fit it in?
What's the width difference between the plastic tank and the concrete tank?
All right, got the information in here. It's an infiltrator tank. Multi-tank is the one we're using. I know it, here we go. The, it's 62 inches wide.
And how wide is a 1,500 or 1,000?
1,500 is 5'8". So that would be what? 68 inches.
So
So
we're
it's
talking
6 inches narrower. And basically, we've got a foot on this side, and we got 1 foot 9 inches on that side. That's why I really wanted to get. I agree. A concrete tank is better, but that's the only issue. I am concerned that we could damage his fence with this. And if I don't have the dimensions of a 1,000-gallon tank, but if we can get better clearance to the property line, and you'd consider that, I guess, what, would we have to advertise it again, though, or something? I'd be willing, or if you can come up with a better, even a 1,500-gallon tank that's longer or narrow, if you've got any ideas. Because I don't want you to have trouble with your fence either.
Yeah. In the fences, I'm just bringing that up because it shows you how close we are. I mean,
It's tight.
impossible
Yeah.
to do it without the fence falling.
A concrete fence would mean they'd be closer to your fence.
A concrete tank would.
Tank, yeah.
Right,
Right, absolutely.
And is
right.
that something that you would be more in favor
I
of?
would actually be more in favor
Of a concrete tank.
Because I'm looking forward down the line. I mean, the fence, let's face it, we can take it out and put it back in again, providing, they pay for it. But it's not a big deal. But I just see, again, 5 years, 10 years down the line, the thing's smelling again. It smelled for 7 years.
Well, if we went with a concrete 1,000-gallon tank, that would be 56 inches wide. So we'd gain, what are we, 62? Is that what I told you? Yeah.
Yeah, 62.
62. So it would be, 56 inches wide. So we'd gain another 6 inches. So we could be, if we kept it, probably I'd make it 2 feet to the house and almost 2 feet, but I don't know, essentially it is an old cold leaching system, but it's in good condition. But if we put a 1,000-gallon tank in front of it and it was concrete, and even if we moved it all the way, the extra 6 inches, gave him 1.5 feet to his fence, then, I don't know, we'd have to come back for the variance to have a 1,000-gallon. Is that something that you would consider, or?
Would you?
So we're dropping it, right?
Well,
We'll go from-
1,500 gallons is the minimum allowed by Title V, so you'd be requesting
Another variance.
another variance, so it would need to get re-advertised. There's no alternatives here.
There's no easy way. I'm
Yeah.
more in supportive of what was presented. Mr. Cadillac's presented something that's feasible, that he's got a background in, that he wouldn't suggest. He's been a long time member of the community, putting countless systems in to the best of his abilities. And I'm more in favor of approving this as it stands, personally, than moving along to the benefit of, it needs to be done. And if it smells now, why wait? We could get a snowstorm, we'd be 3 months off, and you could put a shovel in the ground a lot quicker if we approve this now.
Do I get one last say?
You absolutely have another say, yeah. What would you like to bring up?
Again, we're going to be there for a long time. And this gentleman's been very polite. I talked to him this morning. Yeah, we had a heated argument. That's because we disagreed. But so what? But the point is, I'm looking long term also.
But let me just address your point. Let me just address your point.
Yeah.
If the plastic system failed, we'd be called in and have it replaced. There's a mechanism in place that addresses your future concern. He's proposing a system that is approved now, that would fit into the system, that has a very limited capacity. You'll be in the same situation, I'm sure, someday, and we'd like to give you all the leeway that you can. I imagine you have a very small lot in a very tight scenario, and we'll probably need a system too, with a bunch of variances. But you bring up the concern about your fence, which I think has been addressed, and then you bring up a future concern that may or may not happen in our lifetime. There's no.
That's not fair to say. Even this gentleman said he's concerned about the plastic fence. And I realize that.
No, he didn't say that. He gave you.
I'm concerned about the clearances. I mean, you know, I would rather have more clearance, but that's the smallest 1,000-gallon tank I found. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about your fence.
Oh, okay.
I think
so you're not concerned at all about the
No, not the plastic.
No,
No, I'm not concerned about the plastic at all.
Good.
Any other further discussion? Anybody?
Can I say something? Joe Martins, in his report, mentioned that bricks were loose at the top and suggested the bricks on the existing pit be replaced. So I added a note to this plan. It's the same plan as what you have, but I have 2 copies that just say that the installer is to replace the top 2 courses of riser bricks. And then that'll take care of that issue. And I have 2 copies, this one and that one, I'll hand in. But I mentioned that, Joe had mentioned that in his report, and I think we should make sure that they get replaced. So that's my only comment.
Recommendation?
Recommend the dwelling be restricted to a maximum of 4 bedrooms and no increase in habitable space or square footage without Board of Health review. Replacement of the top 2 courses of bricks on the leaching pit riser and cover is required, and the conditions and approval be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. And I don't know if you want to add something about a butter's property.
Something
Fencing.
about the fence?
I think that's a civil matter.
Okay.
If they damaged your fence in the construction of this, you would contact Mary, and I'm sure, being the good neighbor that you suggest she is, she would pay for any damage or replacement of your fence. It's not a parcel of the board to make.
I don't know what your jurisdiction is, but
Yeah.
yes. The only issue, of course, is if there's some issue of ownership change before that, but I doubt that.
Okay. So, no, there's nothing about the fence.
Okay, did you make a motion?
No, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
We'll accept the recommendation of the health officer based on the conditions she stated.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
The last hearing we have is for Burset, 10 Central Avenue, to consider a variance request to install a new Title V septic system prepared by Clark Engineering LLC. Variance from 310 CMR 15.211 minimum setbacks to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 5 feet from the property line where 10 is required. Variance requested 5 feet.
Open the hearing.
Good evening again, David Clark, Clark Engineering for the record. Need to find the plan here. So, the Bursetts went to the Zoning Board of Appeals last month or the month before to get a permit to demolish this house and construct a new house on this property. And also demolish the garage. It requires a new Title V system. We've designed a system that's in full compliance with one exception, and that is a variance to the southerly property line, where 5 feet, where 10 feet's required. The parcel to the south is owned by the town of Harwich, and it's a vacant lot. So we feel that the system as designed provides the same environmental protection as a system that's in full compliance with the regulations. I also provided a second septic design showing a system, a direct replacement for what's there now, and showing what how problematic it would be to put a system if we didn't do anything to the house. We require one more variance than we're asking for now. When Meg and I first met 6 months ago on this, I had a plan that required, I think, 4 more variances, but upon further investigation, the existing cottage is, as you just heard with the previous application, is sitting on blocks, so it does not have a foundation. And so we don't have to meet the setbacks. That's why you see it so close to the existing building. We did make modifications to the design of the proposed house in that a portion of the house will be on piers. It's not something the Bursetts were thrilled about, but it eliminates a variance to the house. So we'll have a full foundation to the point where it's 20 feet from the soil absorption system, then it will be on piers the rest of the way. There's no increase in the number of bedrooms. That's it.
Excuse me. So is there any comments from the board?
Sorry.
It's very confusing when there's this many, and your paperclip was just lost. Okay,
I'm fine.
No problem.
recommendation from the director?
I recommend approval of the variance with the following conditions. The property be restricted to a maximum of 3 bedrooms. No increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the board. No garbage disposal. And the variance approval and conditions be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
I move the acceptance of the health director's report.
Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Do you have
Thank
green
you.
cards? Green cards?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Joe. Thank you.
Okay.
I can do my report.
Yes?
It's a short one. January was a short month. I did finish the town report for the health department, and I amended Pam's report for the board and sent them in, so they'll be printed in the annual report. The court case for 5 C Street is ongoing. I met with town council to go over the case again, just to keep you all updated. It's in the disposition stage where they ask us questions and we answer them, and then it goes to court, and then they ask questions again and come back, so just keep you posted on that. I did go to the Realtor MLS tour meeting at the community center. There were about 65 realtors there, and I gave them a good update on the comprehensive wastewater management plan, phase 2 sewering, and how to go about applying for waivers, and alluded to the extensions that we'll be giving in a couple of years. I gave them a question and answer sheet, links to the website, list of street names and numbers that are included in phase 2, so it pops up with them if they are in that phase 2 area. Community development, we did sit down with a potential dog groomer on Chatham Road at the old Outer Cape Health Building on Chatham Road. We're hoping it moves forward. She was very eager to start her own dog grooming business. It's a little odd because Title V does not give a flow rate for dog grooming. So we have to do a little research on that.
Depends on the size of the dog.
Food service program. So last October, the new food code was adopted, the federal food code. I've been talking with health agents across the Cape about the changes and what it means to establishments. And one of the changes that we did notice was regarding mobile food. Up until October, mobile food units always required a base of operations, a restaurant or licensed establishment to work out of. That part of the code no longer exists, so we're trying to figure out a way to, do we want to encompass it, do we not want to encompass it? So we're talking with the state about the reasoning why they removed it.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. And I have been developing a new inspection form to go along with the new code.
Was there any rationale why they wanted to have a base of operations?
Well, to have a base of operations is where you bring the mobile truck to clean it, get fresh water, get rid of the old water, do any prep work, keep things refrigerated. And it's a place that can be inspected.
And it didn't have anything to do with what kind of food they put in the truck? Okay.
No, even the ice cream shops needed, a place. Emergency management, I met with our emergency planner, and Harwich has satisfied all of our deliverables this year. It includes doing a call-down drill, doing our facility set up with the flu clinic back in October, and next month we're having an emergent disease seminar, and we're going to be talking about how our plans need to be updated to talk about emergent diseases. I do want to do a basic ICS NIMS course with you guys. It's Incident Command, National Incident Management System. There's a couple of courses that board members should have under their belts. It's an online course. We can even all do it at once. If you have a laptop, we can all do it at a work session sometime. Just gets the lingo in your mind of incident command, command center, emergency operations. So if you're ever pulled in for
I think that'd be helpful, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
I would be happy to do that.
Can you do that independently, or
You can do it independently. I can send you the links to do it independently, if you want to do it on your own time.
I think that makes
And-
more sense.
Okay.
All we need
Just
is
sort
a
of strategically.
website.
Okay, yeah, you register, so they can send you a certificate.
Yeah.
And there's two that are basic, and then there are higher levels too that you can do online. So if you get the first two done, and you're really into it, you can try the 300 and 400.
Yeah.
Question,
Yeah.
what's a deliverable?
So the state gives everyone money. The federal government gives the state money if we complete deliverables, or they're basically a checklist of items.
Deliverable to the state?
One deliverable is you must do a quarterly call-down drill every year, 4 times a year. That's one deliverable.
Okay.
So deliverables are action items
Okay.
that need to be done to satisfy their overall plan. Attached to my report is just updates we've done. We are pretty much at 100% except for 2 applications for food service, and they're both residential kitchens. We're not sure if they're even in business anymore, so other than that, we're
Wow, that's great.
up to date. We'll send out seasonal application renewal packages in early April for the pools and motels and beaches and food service. Also in your packet is the status report for the semi-public swimming pools and the beaches. Their condensed versions are in the annual report. But yeah, we did really well last year for our beaches. We only had, let's see, I think there were 4 failures out of close to 100 samples taken in Harwich. No, almost 300 samples taken and only 4 failed. So we did really,
Bravo.
really well.
Very good.
And those 4 were right around rain events, so that's probably what caused the failures.
That's good news.
Mm-hmm.
Do they ever check for mycoplasma, by the way? You may remember there was a celebrated case up in Snow Inn, up in Snow Mountain, in Vermont, about people that were using hot tub, and they came down with a rash. It was due to mycoplasma balnei, I believe. And I just don't know whether that is required or not.
Not for marine or freshwater beaches.
Well, these are pools, aren't they?
We do, yep, for pools, they test it, they do a Pseudomonas, a heterotrophic plate count, and they do either E. coli or enterococci. So they don't do the mycoplasma though.
Okay. Well, it's not very common, and it's usually a heated pool, but it happens.
The next thing on your agenda is a permit list. We only have one new permit holder application, and it is for a caterer, Corner of Yum. They're operating out of
Yum.
Cape Sea Grill.
Oh,
She's gonna do cakes and baked goods out of the Sea Grill
kitchen.
with their approval.
Not a problem. Great place.
That's
Need a
a
vote on those.
trademark of a restaurant chain too, is Yum Incorporated.
Yum
That-
Brands.
Yum
Right,
Brands,
that's
I
the,
thought so. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's,
it's a call for a stock. Right?
and I'm trying to remember the restaurants. I think it's,
Cracker Barrel.
say again?
Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel, but no, there are some restaurants that, well, it doesn't matter. I guess we're not concerned with copyrights anyway.
No,
I
I'd
think
make
Pizza Hut was Yum brand.
Yeah, that's it.
Pizza Hut,
Was it?
yes.
There you go. I'd make a motion that we accept the new permits, including Yum, aptly named.
Also in your packet is a new personnel members and staff list with
Phone numbers.
phone numbers. It has Dr. Dagalo's correct email and everything on there.
Welcome, Dr. DePaul.
A second for the permits, acceptance of the permits,
I so moved acceptance of the permit.
all unanimous?
Aye.
Thank you.
So we've got our March 12th meeting, which is also going to be kind of large.
Yeah. So
We
the-
have the things that were
So-
rescheduled that are on this agenda that
Right.
are coming, and then we will have probably 3 or 4 new septic variances as well, so.
So we have the pesticide, we have perks, we have 3 Kelly Road. Those are the,
And we have the recreation discussion. What's that? Herbicide.
right, that was the
Herbicide. And also 11 Atlantic Ave will be coming back too. So it won't be quite as long as this agenda, but it will still be.
11 Atlantic is coming back. Okay. Well,
Any feeling on a work session, date, time? We should probably have one with the, after the next meeting, we could have one for the smoking and the herbicide discussion if we wanted to craft regulations or discussions points.
how was that? But Kokonis, was it Mr. Kokonis? He had said that they don't spray with that anymore anyway. How was that regulation, how was that stated right now? Is it stated at all?
It's put into schools' integrated pest management plans.
Yeah.
So it's not regulated by us, it's just a policy of the school.
Prior to this, we felt that, just to give you a background on it, that by taking it on as a regulation, we're also accepting taking it on to make sure it happens, to regulate it. And we felt that that might be
That was for homeowners, wasn't it? Too?
That was for fertilizer.
That was for fertilizer.
But same concept, yeah. If you
Same
regulate,
if you regulate it, you have to enforce it.
Right.
And that was the pushback, and how diluted we want to come on issues that might be handled at another forum in the town.
Okay. But the town, does the town have a regulation right now about?
No.
They don't have an official regulation?
Right.
About fertilizer or pesticide.
Right, not that I'm aware of, right.
Are we supposed to craft one, or is that not of our hands?
That's something that you can discuss at the next meeting, because you've been given all the information now and you can digest it and talk about it. And at the next meeting, you can either direct me to draft a policy or a regulation, or you can say, we don't want to do this at all. If the selectmen want to, they can put it in the town bylaws rather than it coming through the Board of Health. If you feel like it's not your purview to do it, you can kick it up to the selectmen, or you can have a regulation, or you can have even a proclamation where it's not a regulation, but it's a statement saying we are aware that herbicides or glyphosate is harmful, and we strongly encourage not to use it.
And that's the stand we took with NSTAR.
And that's the stand we took also with cannabis. We did a proclamation, we didn't ban it, or we didn't, and CBD oil and things like that, we didn't do a regulation to prohibit it, but it was more of a public health statement saying this is bad for your health.
The NSTAR thing was whether they were overspraying on some of the bike paths and stuff like that. And if you, just to get up to
Are
speed.
they still doing that
as
now?
opposed to
Is
clear
NSTAR
cutting
still
it.
doing it?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I've seen them cutting, I mean, just in the Pleasant Bay area, they brought in trucks and cut it all. Whether they do it everywhere, I don't know. Do you have a comment?
We did a couple of years ago under the power lines at Harwich, Thompson Steel put through there, they cut and then they sprayed something that killed everything.
Did they tell you what they spray with?
Yes.
Or are they still using
There are
Roundup?
5 different herbicides that they use, and they don't tell you which ones they use where.
Are they supposed to tell you?
No.
They tell you this is the list of possible herbicides that.
But they don't tell you which ones they contact?
Where they specifically use each one.
Is that legal?
It is now,
it is,
at this
unfortunately,
point, but these folks
Yes, the
are
state
trying
thinks
to.
so.
Right.
There are 10.
Are after it.
10 herbicides that are commonly used in landscaping, and I've read them all, and not one of them is safe. And it's just different.
Oh, no, continue, sorry.
It's just different reactions. One, for example, is associated with that disease that people get when they, no, I'm sorry, my head is gone. I can't think of the name, but they're all different reactions to various things. And The one that's used to be used, called paraquat, was absolutely forbidden by the World Health Organization. Now they've got one called biquat, which is not as dangerous and I think is still allowed to be used. That's the problem. If you ban one, then what's the alternative? Because there's going to be an alternative.
Right.
So I have a question. I'm just here as a nursing student. I'm required to, what a Board of Health does, so I apologize for sitting here taking notes on that.
We were wondering who you are.
But I'm wondering, yeah, I'm wondering, what are you, can you say to NSTAR, in Harwich, you may only use goats to clear your land? What can you guys do? What do you?
That would be a question to town council.
I suppose.
Town council.
Because we get everything from the state, so,
Well,
right?
the local Board of Health can develop any regulations without the approval of the townspeople. So the board can develop regulations, have a public hearing with public comments, and regardless of what the public wants, can make a decision on the public health's behalf. So
It skips the selectmen.
it skips the selectmen.
And you get your police powers from the governor.
And it also skips town meeting.
Yeah.
Right, so one of the things you can think of is putting fluoride in the water. Towns can mandate that and say, yes, I want, or the Board of Health can say, yes, we want fluoride in the water. We have not.
That was discussed years ago.
Yes, over
Like-
15 years ago.
Oh,
Yes,
I
yes.
remember that.
So that's something that you wouldn't need support from the people
we
to
decided
do it.
that was
You
it.
can just
Not good.
do it. The Board of Health has a lot of power in that way, but we choose not to wield it in that capacity.
One more question, if you don't mind me asking. You went through a lot of property things here, and one of them was a 6-month property, and part of what they had to do was turn off the water. What happens if they don't turn off the water?
I think they have to get a, didn't they have to get a permit? Didn't they have to, I think there was something in the paperwork that they had to have something that was signed off.
We give notice to the water department.
Yeah.
And they put it on their shut-off list. So it gets shut off and then
Regardless.
turned back on.
There's a couple of them out there in sensitive areas. Anything else? Maybe tomorrow.
Are you the town nurse?
No, I work at the hospital.
We do have a town nurse.
Yeah.
but-
I was wondering if I could come to the department to talk to somebody for a
Oh.
little while sometime.
Sure. I'm the director. You can give us a call.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
No, thank you. It was very interesting. I'm getting bees. I came from paying for my bees to over here where they're talking about the water. Oh, my bees.
That's only one of about 5 or 6 possible explanations for colony collapse disorder. And, a lot of people that believe they understand what's happening, but I don't think anybody's certain about it. At least not so that I've read anyway. But it's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
Big
though.
problem.
Yeah.
You bet.
They don't come to my
Especially
house
in the
anymore.
areas where they
Sad.
use bees for pollination.
My flowers don't
Like
bloom
up in
as much.
California.
Yeah.
I would think somebody with a cranberry farm would want to protect their bees.
Yeah, honeybees, of course, are imported. They're not a native species. I'm sorry, I shouldn't keep you all waiting with all this nonsense.
Okay, should we
By the way, it
adjourn?
was autism, what I was thinking of. Autism is associated with one of the herbicides.
Oh, there's so many
Okay.
All right.
Hearing,
Anything else? Motion to close?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we close the hearing.
So, second.
Second.
Okay, I'm sure we're all in
Aye.
favor.
Excellent.
Now I have to figure out which pages to save.
Italian bees.
Italian bees?